So welcome to our first review lesson. So after you complete this lesson and the homework, you're going to take a test online. Do not take the test before you're absolutely ready. Please, you do not get a second chance on my tests. You mess it up, you messed it up. So make sure before you get to the test, you understand everything. There are no redos in this class. So the test will be in the order of this review generally. And so the homework and the lessons are also generally in the same order. So if you see a problem in the lesson and then you see it in the homework, you're probably going to see it on the test. So make sure you understand it before you begin the test. So hopefully the test will start very easy with opposites. The opposite of 16 is negative 16. The opposite of negative 58 is positive 58, and they are not equal. When you add opposites, you get 0. The properties will be on the test. What's this an example of? This is an example of the inverse property of addition, right? When you add opposites, you get 0 is the inverse property. When you add opposites, they don't have to be next to each other in the problem. So negative 413 plus 413 is 0. And 0 plus 62 is therefore 62, right? You don't want to sit there and do this in order and do all that work. Understand opposites cancel each other out. 0 plus negative 573 is negative 573. That's ridiculously easy. But what property says when you add 0, the number doesn't change? Well, it doesn't change its identity. This is an example of the identity property. See the difference? Inverse, you add opposites, you get 0. Identity, you add 0 to a number, and it stays the same. So let's go over those properties. Which one is that? This one is inverse. You're adding opposites. Which one is that? That's identity. So which one was the third property that we learned? Turns out if you can add numbers in any order, you can switch the order of addition but not subtraction around. What property says so? Commutative. There are 2 M's and 2 T's in commutative. So which property says you can add in any order? That one, the commutative property. Then we're going to have basic integer addition on the test. There are 14 extra positives there. (19 minus 7 is 12, but there are 12 extra negatives there. This one is different than those two because everything is negative. And so there are 43 negatives there. The answer is negative 43. You can use the commutative property and add those in any order. You might want to decide to do negative 56 plus negative 4, which is negative 60 first. Or you might want to do it in a different order. Negative 60 plus 12, well, 60 minus 12 is 48, but there are 48 extra negatives there. So you're not evaluating this, you're just rewriting it as adding the opposite. There'll be ones on the test like this. So what equals that? Well, what equals that is x plus 3. We change that to adding, we change that to its addition. So what's the same as that? You leave the first number the same, you change subtraction to adding, you change 17 to its opposite. So those are equal. I'm not asking for negative 22, which is what it equals. I'm asking that you understand that those are the same. There will be questions like that. This is evaluating. So subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. So negative 12 plus 19, there are 7 extra positives. Both of those equal 7. Right? This does not equal 7 because this is the same as adding negative 40. So it equals negative 7. There is no commutative property of subtraction, we say. You cannot switch this around and say it's equal to 7. This is the same as 26 plus 12, which is 38. This is the same as negative 54 plus negative 8, which 54 plus 8 is 62. So this, right, we're carrying there, and this is negative 62. What do you do for perimeters? You add up all the sides. Right? We have to line up our decimal points. Right? The 9 goes under those 1s, and you add them all up. 9 plus 9 is 18, 8 plus 1 is 9, 11, carry the 1. And whenever it's a word problem, you put a word or a symbol that means a word. Let me be a little neater. So that is 31.98 meters. So those are both negative. So, right, what was my secret there? I said just do it as integers, right? So you know the answer is around negative 18. So that when you add 13 plus 5.2, right, addition doesn't matter which one's up top. And so you get 18.2 here, but the answer is, well, this is a, right, so this, right, so this was approximately negative 18, but it's exactly negative 18.2. So this is like negative 22 plus around 28, right? We'll round that up to 28 because it's a 5 or above. So this is going to be, this answer is going to be around 6, right? So when we do this, it better be a number around positive 6, and it is 5.8 or 5 8/10. Here you're adding the opposite. So we have around negative 35 or around negative 36, truthfully, right? Because you'd round that to negative 36 plus 38. So this is going to be around 2, positive 2. So when we do the subtraction, we better get something around 2. Let's borrow. And I'm getting 2.3. And it's around positive 2.3. Right? Or it's exactly 2.3. It was around 2. So he has $13.60. That means it's positive. Owes negative $59.49. How much money did he really have? All right, well, we know it's going to be negative. Remember, I gave that hint. This is good for the test. This answer is negative. So where I'm going to put that. Then I'm going to come over here, put the number with the greater absolute value on top, because that's the way you have to subtract here. 0 minus 0, 0. We're going to borrow and get 14 minus 6 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. And so this is, how much money did he really have? He's negative $45.80 because he owes more money than he has in the bank. I really don't want you to have to do the work here, right? This is around 83. That's around negative 8, right? 9, you go up. In this case, you're actually not going up because negative 8 is lower, but you're making 7 up to 8. So it's 83 plus negative 8. Well, 83 minus 8 is around 75, positive 75. So negative 8 plus what equals 2? Well, if you put 6 there, that makes -2, so it's not 6. So we got to pick something else. What would make +2? Well, I think +10, right? -8 plus +10 would equal 2, so the question mark has to be 10. So I've gone over pretty much everything you need for the test. All right, so practice. So those are opposites. That's the opposite of x plus x. So this must be an example of inverse, property of addition. So he bought a painting for $30 and he sold it for $24.25. Profit is what you sold it for minus what you bought or made it for gets your profit. So he's got a loss here, right? He sold it for $24.25 and we're subtracting 30. But you can't do that subtraction because the bigger number has to go up top when you subtract. So we have 30 minus 24.25. I've intentionally got a problem there with a lot of borrowing, since 8th graders seem to not forget this from elementary school, and we're going to practice. So the 3 becomes a 2, then that becomes a 10. 10 becomes a 9, that becomes a 10. 10 becomes a 9, that becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7, 9 minus decimal straight down, 9 minus 4 is 5, and so it doesn't have a profit of $5.75. He has a loss, of $5.75, or a profit of negative $5.75. X is -7 here. So the rest of it, we're adding the opposite. So subtract -12 becomes add 12. Now, the single biggest mistake on the test usually for this test is people start changing that, adding 9 to adding the opposite, but it's already adding. Don't do that, right? You only change subtraction, that's to adding the opposite. So that's subtraction, it becomes adding. Then the -12 becomes its opposite. You can do this in any order now. -7 plus 12 is 5, plus 5 plus 9 is 14. Try the next one. So x is -7 still for both of these. First number always stays the same on all the problems. That's subtracting 9, so it becomes adding -9. The last one is just adding already, so leave it. -7 plus -9, -16. -16 plus -3, -19. Again, I'm trying to get you to use rounding here. So this -99 and 87/100 is around -100. We're going to add the opposite, and the opposite of that is around 10. So this is around -100 plus +10, so it's approximately -90. It's C. We're adding the opposite there. So which property is which? Last chance. Now these were all properties, rules of addition. All right? And they have a multiplication version that we'll learn in the next unit. Good luck on the test. Make sure you have these properties straight before you start.